There came to assail her calm only one soul. Again, that's Satyavan. You see, we'll go back like that. See. There was only one strand to seize her, her passion, the hero. Again, Satyavan. No eye demanded. It's only Satyavan's eyes could demand her return gaze. In fact, that is what we'll see in the next book, the book of love. You see, a power within her or the imperfect flesh. That is what happens. Our flesh cannot bear that greatness. It stands away. It dreads by that power. The self-protecting genius in our clay, self-protecting genius in our clay, in our earthly soil, in our mud, in our physical body. Genius, genius stands here for the spirit ruling over a certain type, certain group, certain people. That is what genius means. In fact, the word genius here is, it is the guiding spirit, the guardian spirit of a group, of a people, of an institution. What is the genius of this place? What is the genius of Auroville? You see, in that sense, the guiding spirit, you see, the spirit of Auroville, that is the genius of Auroville, you see, in that sense. It's true or not? Huh? You wish it were true. Yeah, that is perhaps true for the ashram also. Yeah. Okay, so that is the genius. So the guiding spirit has to be there for every group activity of every people. You see. So here says this self-protecting genius of our clay, of our mortal life, of our physical existence, divine the goddess in the woman's shape. So there is something in us which divines the shape and drew back from a touch beyond its kind. We are accustomed to a certain kind of a touch. We cannot bear her touch, and therefore we retract, we recoil, we draw back. Drew back from a touch beyond its kind, the earth, nature, bound in the sense life's narrow make. Yes, we are governed by our own vital instincts, vital responses, and naturally the vital response cannot bear the impact of her purity, of her divine force, of her divine light. The hearts of men are emeralds of clay kin. Yes, we are happy with our clay pots. We would not like to have amethyst pots for drinking wine. You see, clay pots are better. You see. The hearts of men are emeralds of clay kin, and bear not spirits lone and high, who bring far intimations from the deathless plains. It cannot bear. The great souls who come, the vibhutis, the avatars, who bring far intimations from the deathless plains, from the immortal worlds, they bring those things, vibhutis and avatars, the fire intimations. We cannot bear them. And bear not spirits lone and high, who bring far intimation from the deathless plain, too vast for souls not born to mate with heaven. Yes, we don't have that quality, we don't have that capacity, we don't have that opening, we don't have even that aspiration to be so. We don't even know that kind of a thing can happen to us, can be ours. Whoever is too great must lonely live. That is the loneliness of Savitri. She has not found her mate. She is too great, therefore she has to live alone. Whoever is too great must lonely live. Adored, he walks in mighty solitude. Of course, he here stands in a general context because he is talking of one who lives lonely. It is for that he. Of course, it refers again to Savitri here. Adored, he walks in mighty solitude. Vain is his labor to create his kin. He cannot create other great people around him. He is only a comrade with a strength within. That is Savitri's strength within. And that is the only mate, friend, lover, comrade, whatever you want to call it, for Savitri here, the strength within. In fact, Later on, we have a long description of Savitri's loneliness. His only comrade is strength within. Thus was it for a while with Savitri. All worshipped marvelingly, none dared to claim. Actually, later on, we have here, let me read that part, it's very important. See, we have here line. Yet in her inmost sky, 96.11. Yet in her inmost sky, an orb aloof, a distance severed her from those most close. It's the same description here, repeated. And we have the same description again in earlier part. Her greatest self lived, 96.4, last line. Her greater self lived, soul unclaimed within. She is alone, you see. That is what Savitri is there. Now she is here alone, but again, her greatness, her loneliness, her greater self comes out most beautiful later on when Savitri is described by Narad, who Savitri is, her greatness. We have got a very powerful description there. 108:30.
Which number?
108:30. 108:30. He who would save himself, you got it? Oh, okay. 108? Yeah. He who would save himself lives bare and calm. He who would save the race must share its pain. This he shall know who obeys that grandiose urge. That is what Savitri is here. And later on, the great who came to save the suffering world and rescue out of time's shadow the law must pass beneath the yoke of grief and pain. And later on, the most beautiful description, 112:48. As a star, got it? 108, 112, 112. No. As a star, uncompanioned, moves in heaven, unastonished by the immensities of space, traveling infinity by its own light, the greatest, strongest, when they stand alone. And then he says, a day may come when she must stand unhelped on the dangerous brink of the world's doom and hers, carrying the world's future on her lonely breast, carrying the human hope in a heart left soul to conquer or fall on a last desperate word, alone with death and close to extinction's edge. Her single greatness in that last dire scene, she must cross alone a perilous bridge in time and reach an apex of world destiny where all is one, all is lost for man. In that tremendous silence, lone and lost of a deciding hour, in the voice of fate, in a soul's climbing beyond mortal time, when she stands soul with death or soul with God, apart upon a silent, desperate brink, alone with the self and death and destiny, as on some verge between time and timelessness, when being must end or life rebuild its base. Alone she must conquer, but alone must fall. Now, this is a description of a slightly different kind. Savitri is what is going to do after the death of Satyavan. She will be standing alone. But here we have already, going back to our 97.9, here already Savitri is standing apart alone in a different context. The hearts of men are amorous of clay kin, and bear not spirits lone and high, who bring fire intimation from the deathless plain. Too vast for souls not born to mate with heaven. Whoever is too great must lonely live. Same thing again. What happens later on also? See. Lonely live. See, in fact, that is the important thing. In fact, that is the most significant thing. Savitri has to meet death to conquer death. And death has to occur in a lonely place. Satyavan is not going to die in his house, in the hermitage where he is living. Now imagine if the death takes place in the house, then all that weeping, crying, noise, this thing, that thing, the kind of occult isolation which is required for Savitri to do her work, that she would not be able to do in the midst of everybody. The death has to take place away from all these human elements, lonely. Therefore, he goes to the forest, and then at noontime, the death occurs. When Savitri is alone now, face to face with Yama, with death. And there she has to conquer. So that is the strength. He's talking of the strength, loneliness. No human element can interfere, should not interfere. In fact, that would have been sort of disastrous had the death taken place. She would not have been able to do anything, you see. Whoever is too great must lonely live. Adored, he walks in mighty solitude. Vain is his labor to create his kin. His only comrade is strength within. That is what Savitri is having when she is meeting death. Thus was it for a while with Savitri. This, of course, is in a different context here with Savitri because she has grown up now to the marriageable age. All worshipped marvelingly, none dared to claim. That is the problem for the father also of Savitri, that my daughter, she has to find somebody, you see. None dared to claim. Her mind sat high, pouring its golden beam. She is pouring her golden light all around, everywhere. Her heart was a crowded temple of delight. That is loneliness. Now he is describing here Savitri as a temple, as a shrine. Savitri is described here as a shrine for the God of love, a perfect shrine for the God of love. That is what is now being described here because he is preparing for the next move. The Savitri has to meet love. Her mind sat high, pouring its golden beam. Her heart was a crowded temple of delight. Obviously, temple of delight. A single lamp lit in perfection's house. Savitri herself is that house of perfection. And it is in that house of perfection that lamp, Savitri's soul, is lit. A bright, pure image in a priestless shrine. So that is a shrine. And in that shrine, there is no priest. In other words, the poet is telling us, look, at the moment there is no priest, but he will come. He has to come. Savitri is the perfect shrine for the god of love, and that priest has to be there. Satyavan will come. A bright, pure image in a priestless shrine. Why priestless? Because of that. You see. Alone, amid surrounding crowds, she dwelled apart in herself until her hour of fate. Now again, the hints are there, hour of fate. What is going to happen tomorrow? Now this has gained multiple connotations. Hour of fate. It is fated that Satyavan has to die. That is the hour of fate. But it is also fated in the immediate context that Savitri has to meet Satyavan. Her hour of fate has to come for the meeting. And therefore she is sitting alone in that priestless shrine. There is no priest there, she is there alone, you see. And that hour of fate has to come where the priest will walk into the shrine and they will meet. You see. Now, this description of perfect shrine is something marvelous. We have here earlier 3.28. See, the whole Savitri is that way well knit. All connections are inbuilt and logically consistent. 3.28. Now, he is describing the place where Satyavan and Savitri are going to meet. You see. Here with a suddenness, I am reading the previous sentence. Here with a suddenness, divine advents have. In what the priest is bound to come here soon. See. Here with suddenness, divine advents have, repeating the marvel of the first descent, changing into rapture the dull earthly round. Love came to her, hiding the shadow, death, her hour of fate, death. Well might he find in her his perfect shrine. So this is a perfect shrine which is being described here now, in our present context here. Her mind sat high, pouring its golden beams. Her heart was a crowded temple of delight. A single lamp lit in perfection's house. A bright, pure image in a priestless shrine. Alone amid surrounding crowds, she dwelled apart in herself until her hour of fate.